And we welcome everybody back to You with Panger and Niner and myself, KT. It's good to have you guys with us for another episode. Guys, we're off and running. We did it.
Yes, we did.
Cole Hamels, the feedback's been great so far. Everyone, two great guests to start things off. Like, how could it not be, right? And another one coming today. We'll tell you about it in a second.
Absolutely. This has been a blast. And you know what the nice thing about this is, with all our busy schedules, which we all are, and this is what we do for a living, is travel a lot. And then whether we're broadcaster or Niner, you're running the entire UFC network. But I think that the fun part is that, we get together like this and it's fun to do. I mean, could you imagine if this was a chore? It'd be rugged to do, but
No.
It's fun. And the other part is it's fun listening to our guests. It's fun listening to guests talk about, maybe funny stories. They open up, they talk about themselves a little bit more. They talk about their family. They talk about things that are important to them. And I think that's really what does make podcasts so enjoyable, is that you hear another side. So we're lucky to have, John Hamm and Cole Hamels. I really enjoyed, obviously, both of them. And I don't know Cole at all other than doing this. And it felt like when we ended that segment, that episode with him, that we all knew him a little bit better. And so that's a pleasure to have such great people.
Meeting Cole just once before, but just such a good guy. And I loved his story. I love that the conversation went to golf, mostly golf.
Yeah, me too.
And his career. And he was awesome to have. I love that. So thanks, Niner.
And like you guys touched on, these guys are more than just the sport that they represent. They're just normal human beings like we are. And whether it's going to their favorite restaurants, golf courses, etc. But Cole's great. He's so sincere. And when he got off, he called me and said, anytime, thank you so much. And can't wait to see KT and Panger again. So
that's really nice. So his gift's in the mail, KT. His gift's in the mail.
Yep. His gift's in the mail. That's right. Panger, let's start with you for a second, because you are 4 out of 5 nights you've been covering a hockey game?
Yeah, 4 and 5. And so, did games. Let me think here. I was in Chicago back to back, which is kind of odd, doing home games back to back for the Blackhawks on NBC Sports Chicago. So that was Saturday, Sunday. And I should say maybe after the game on Saturday, I probably went out and had a couple. Anyway, so I was a little rugged on Sunday. And then Monday was an off day, which, of course, here we are with the podcast on Monday. And then Tuesday at Madison Square Garden. And then on Wednesday morning, 7 a.m., I took the train. I always fumble up the name of that train from Penn Station to Washington. The Acela? The Acela. The Acela, yeah. So that was really enjoyable.
By the way, right? Is it the best?
It is the best.
No airports. No, it's so great. It's smooth and it's a nice ride. And I love the Acela. Anytime I can take a train, I do. I'm
not a train guy. You should see me. I get a little anxiety. Like, where do I go? What do I do? And and the Penn Station, it's across the street now. You literally
have to take the escalator downstairs. You realize that, right?
I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. But it's so nice. It's so clean.
Right.
The new one in New York. And so then I found that really enjoyable. And I, sat back and watched a couple of Spy Ops episodes. And then I watched a hockey game that I was preparing for, because I had Detroit and the Rangers on TNT. And then back-to-back again. That was odd too. Back-to-back games on TNT. So the Florida Panthers and Washington Capitals. So that's kind of where I've been at. And everywhere I've gone, the weather's been unbelievable. And you know what I think about I wake up, I'm like, this is a golf day. This is a golf. Washington, beautiful. New York was nice. Oh, man.
Living in Scottsdale is a golf day every day. It has been gorgeous. Now it's golf season.
How many rounds are you getting in right now, Niner? How many rounds?
I'm never home to play anymore. But I've got a couple scheduled up in the next few weeks, so that'll be good. But I was just going to coattail what Panger said. Leave some breadcrumbs, because I'm following right behind you. I'm on my way to Madison Square Garden today as well. So just got home from Brazil on Monday morning. Today's Wednesday, and I'm heading out to the MSG for the big UFC fight this Saturday night at MSG.
I'm not going to say what hotel I was at. We don't usually stay that close to MSG, but we did for convenience purposes. But some guy was setting up a bunch of UFC stuff in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it could have been. Yeah. So
Panger, the Rangers look to you. I got a lot of friends that are Rangers fans. I'm sure they're listening to the Back to You podcast, and they want to know how these Rangers look this season.
Man, that first period against Detroit was an exhibition. I mean, it was great execution. one team was they're moving their skates. They're passing well organized. Every part of their game was outstanding. And, so if your Ranger fans are asking, they look great. That's without Shesterkin. That's without Adam Fox. Gave Zach Jones an opportunity. I thought he shined quite well. And same with Gustafsson. I know that, coaches bring along guys that they trust. And they know they can put him in every situation, and that the voice familiarity. But I know Peter Laviolette loves Gustafsson, and he really looked good there as well. So all in all, really good. I'm not sure if they were really good, though, to be honest with you, or Detroit was really bad for 2 periods. It was really hard to tell. I think Detroit was really bad for 2 periods as well. But maybe a part of that was just how good and how confident that the New York Rangers looked and played.
How's Labby doing? How does he like life in the Big Apple?
Labby's looking good. I mean, he's doing great. We've, you know what? It's amazing how a coach can. I'm not saying reinvent themselves, because he hasn't. He's been true to himself and how he coaches, and a Stanley Cup winner with Carolina. But the energy it would take to go from team to team and sell your product. He's always been a Labby lock guy, a 1-3-1, but he's got hybrid systems. Versions of that, and he can he can change things up, but by and large that's the staple of Lavy, and how he really presents that to his players and gets them to buy into it. And I just sometimes think that I go to a rink with a lot of energy, but I'm reacting to the game, so it's different. He's got to go in that locker room, he's got to present in practice, he's got to go over clips, and somehow you've got to grab the players' attention all the time. So I would say that Lavy's doing a phenomenal job there. And the players, I mean, what I saw between the benches, it seemed like a total buy-in with the players. So,
that's great.
All in all, really good. And I'm impressed by all these coaches that go from team to team and organization to organization.
If I can just chime in here, as a goalie, did you see Jonathan Quick playing this well for the Rangers? Did you see that coming?
No, I mean, the one thing No, I did not. Okay, I'll answer that in a black and white fashion.
He's played great. He's played great so far this year for him.
Yeah. The one thing that I do believe in is never count out a great athlete. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, a guy's on his last legs, and you're doing a broadcast, and you bluntly say something about that player's got nothing left. And I swear to it that if that player hears you between the benches, then he's going to turn it on and do something unbelievably special. So I never count out these remarkable athletes and gifted players. I will say this, though, in training camp, we did do a game in New York. It was Boston at the Rangers. It was a preseason game on TNT. And the heat was on Jonathan Quick. He did not have a good camp. So, I mean, it's easy for everybody. And I'm sure Jonathan probably thought of it himself. Like, boy, do I still have it? And, because all of a sudden you're in the locker room, you're not playing, you're a good team guy like he was with Vegas last year, winning a cup with them.
Right.
And he was instrumental with the young goaltenders there. But then you play. You got to put your mask on. You got to get out in front of everybody. And I'm going to tell you guys, because I've given up a lot of bad goals, it is the worst feeling in the world to pull a puck out of the net, knowing you stunk, knowing that for whatever reason you couldn't get to that puck. And then you've got 15 to 22 seconds to go back at it again. You think about that for a second. Like,
it's pretty crazy.
I use that Control-Alt-Delete, and I'm terrible with my computer, but I know how to Control-Alt and Delete, and you have to forget about it so fast. But if you're a legendary guy, you're going back to New York, and it's not going well, so that would be tough. So I'm really impressed with Jonathan Quick, and I'm a big fan of Jonathan Quick's, and I love talking goaltending with him, and I think he's a real student of the game, and I hope that he has a great how many seasons. Maybe this is it for him, but ending in New York's got to be pretty special. What a building that is! Wow, I gave up 7 my first time at Madison Square Garden. So every time I go down there, even if I'm between the benches,
why does that seem to be the theme? You're always saying I gave up 7.
Man, I don't know. I never gave up 10 though. Okay, the Sharks went back to back on 10. I gave up 9 one night in LA, and that was the max for me. Okay,
that's great.
Well, I got to say, I was in Ann Arbor this weekend. We had the Michigan game against Purdue. Quite a lopsided game come second half, as we've seen with Michigan. They're just unbelievable. But no shortage of storylines going on right now with the Michigan football program. We'll see what happens, guys. I mean, it's this back and forth. You stole our signs. Well, you stole ours, and it's there's going to be a lot that is uncovered in the coming weeks with these situations, and all the schools in the Big Ten getting involved. But I think the decision will be made. We will move forward, whether or not there are, suspensions or anything coming down for Michigan. But then I flew on Sunday to the Bengals-Bills game. This Bengals team is looking pretty darn good. But more importantly, our pregame show on NBC is sponsored by Applebee's. And I did a hit. You guys know my love and support of the military.
Right.
Yes.
Did a hit in our pregame show about how Applebee's every year gives away free meals to members of the military or veterans, active members or veterans, on Veterans Day, which is coming up on Saturday. So, I think there's a lot of places that do that. And I just think it's so great. They've given away over $11.5 million worth of donated meals over the last 16 years. But being able to be at that Applebee's, and I got to talk to a bunch of the veterans and, share their stories before we went live. And of course, the whole restaurant loved it when we were live on football
That's
night.
awesome.
Applebee's in Kentucky. But it was, I just think it's great. I think anytime you can get front and center with these guys and women and men who have donated their service and dedicated and sacrificed so much for our great country, and just thank them, so don't forget Veterans Day is Saturday,
Good
November
for you.
11th. If you see a veteran or you even at an airport, when they allow somebody, we're all going to be in airports this weekend, when they allow somebody to board first because they were a member of the service, just make sure you thank them.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for
And
all your service.
You're right, KT, and have patience. Everybody's in a hurry to get somewhere, and I get chills at rinks when the home team salutes the military.
Mhm.
Salute, and the players stand up, and it is so great.
Yep.
It is so great. So
Meaningful. Yeah.
it is. It's passionate. It's emotional. In the middle of a hockey game, in the middle of sports events, and people just stop and just applaud
The
them.
players do. The players acknowledge it too with the
Oh,
stick
absolutely.
tap.
Absolutely.
It's a moment for sure. I mean, I think
Great.
the national anthem at every sporting event is a moment. I take that time, take my earpiece out, make sure the producers know like this 60-second or 90-second, whatever it may be, of the national anthem. I'm not available, but anyway, it's great that we do it. We need to do it more, and hopefully everybody continues to appreciate this free land that we live in, because there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world. And we're fortunate that we wake up every day and, thank our lucky stars that we live in this great country. So
that's awesome.
What did you get?
Well
what did
said.
you get at Applebee's? What did you get at Applebee's?
Meat hanger. I love my chicken tenders. Better.
Don't they have like some kind of sample platter?
Day, I would do it, but I would also be 900 pounds, and that wouldn't be good.
So KT, you were at the big house, and you just touched on a little bit of the news that's going on with the University of Michigan football team. What's your take? What do you hear? What are your thoughts?
From the sidelines.
I will be honest. We had a wonderful 55-minute sit down with Coach Harbaugh. He was very generous with his time Friday, right before the game. We didn't know what to expect, and Jim is very, he's very good at his words, and he phrases it the way he wants to, but he was very open and shared some things that were off the record, shared some things that were on that, just mainly help us provide context. We're just delivering the facts. Todd Blackledge, our college football analyst, is amazing at what he does. And, certainly we were gathering information all week long, whether it was from athletic directors or, Todd spoke to Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, right before we went on the air. So what I will say, Craig, to answer that question, is that I just think that all the facts are continuing to be gathered. The NCAA is continuing their investigation. Sure. The Big Ten is as well. For me to have an opinion on it, I haven't seen any of it. I don't know what is going on behind closed doors.
And that's what's crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's out there ready to, demanding sanctions right away. They want him suspended. They want this, they want that, but you have to wait. There's a process, right? Sure. It's like, our great court system. I mean, you've got to go through the process, and they're in that process now. The information that's out there is out there. The rest is the more important information, and that's what none of us are privy to. So,
sure.
But I did find him to be truthful. I mean, I think what Coach Harbaugh told us on Friday was appreciated. I felt like he's very bothered in the sense of, he didn't know. He says he doesn't know that publicly. And, you sit there and, because I go back and forth, I'm like, well, how could you not know? You have to know what's going on in your staff. Like every CEO in America needs to know what's happening at his company. But the
staff,
reality,
credentials, everything.
there's so many staff, there's so many things. I mean, you don't know what an individual's intention can be. As he told us on Friday, I'm not a mind reader. You hire someone with good intentions, but you don't know what ultimately they're capable of doing. So, that's the argument against well, he should have known. Well, you know what? Sometimes you don't know every single detail of every single employee on your roster, and there's a lot of them with college football. So I'm curious to see where it goes. There's only 3 games left in the regular season for college football, and they are big ones for Michigan. So if a suspension is coming, I mean, that's huge implications for a team.
We're all sports fans, and I'm just watching from afar on my couch. I mean, you're able to be there on the sidelines, Penger, you as well, in your respective sport. But we all have friends that have played, both current and former retired NFL players, and I've talked to a few of them. And a lot of them are saying, like, isn't that part of scouting? Okay, let's say you are stealing signs. Isn't that up to the other team to maybe change their signs? Maybe not use the same type of things?
Done it at the time when you're not supposed to be doing it. So they have evidence that he was at games where he shouldn't have been. So that's the issue. It's
right. I understand that, but I'm like, it makes no sense because that's what scouting departments are. I understand there's more stuff that's going into it and on the sidelines of different teams and this and that, but like, you can steal all the signs you want. You still have to go through with what's going on the field. You still have to make the tackle. You still have to make the pass, things like that.
And that's one point. Listen, this Michigan team, it's a shame that it's coming down the way it is, hopefully, because this team is really good.
Yeah.
Really good. They are legitimately good, and they have been. They are deep. They are talented. They've got this great chemistry in that locker room going. Like, they've got all the boxes checked. So it's a shame that there is so much noise and controversy and allegations. But the product on the field, there's no question that they are a national championship contender. So at the end of the day, that's what matters. These kids are out there grinding it out. And, that's.
If I can just make one more point, let's say they do come down with a final decision prior to the college football playoffs. I hope, for the kids' sakes, that Michigan doesn't get fined to the point where they're not eligible for the championship or any type of bowl game, etc. It sounds like Coach Harbaugh is taking onus upon himself, and if it's going to happen, let him take the brunt of it. And I hope that's what happens, because the kids don't deserve it, and they have a great team. Mm-hmm. And I hope, my wish is, being a Michigan guy too. So I hope it doesn't come down where they're not bowl eligible or playoff eligible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, don't punish the kids. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we'll see. We will see. But guys, hey, we have an awesome guest this week. Colt Knost, former PGA Tour player, TV, radio, podcast, you name it, personality. He is awesome. And he did us the great pleasure of joining us this week. So here you go, Colt Knost. Joining us now is former PGA Tour professional Colt Knost. And Colt, good to have you with us. And of course, the host of Golf Subpar podcast on golf.com. And we're just excited to sit here and chat with you, chat some golf, chat some other sports. So how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you all so much for having me. Man, Penger, it's been a minute. You're just as beautiful as ever.
I think I might have seen you in Vegas at a bar maybe last year after I played a little golf, and everybody was going pretty good right there. But my greatest memories, Colt, being with you probably is at Wayne Gretzky's the tournament in the nationwide tournament in Collingwood, Ontario.
Yeah, that's where we first met back in the day. I think I was playing alongside Hully, the great Brett Hall.
You
had a lot of fun.
Wait a second. You're so humble. You weren't just alongside Hully. Tell us what you did. Tell us how well you guys did.
Well, we won. I mean, but I figured that was a given considering Hully's handicap back then.
What was his handicap back then?
Way more than it should have been. But hey, I'm not going to complain. We got the W, and that's all that matters.
And a car.
And he got a car. I did not get a car.
That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. Well, that you're
then, because you probably couldn't, right? Can you accept that, or?
I got a little bonus as a pro, a little cash bonus, but not near as good as the car he got.
Yeah, no.
That's unbelievable. That was a great time. Gretz does such an unbelievable job and getting all of us out there. And I played with Todd Fisher was my partner for 3 years at that tournament, and we just had a blast. Well, it was so much fun. I remember the first year, Colt, I wore long pants because I thought it was a big event. And then I'm like, Coley's like, what are you doing in the pants? I'm like, all right. I said, I thought I was Ian Woosnam. I was trying to be a pro. He said, yeah, just get off the pants.
That's a pretty good Holly impersonation. I like it.
Colt, take us back to some of those Dallas days when you were living down in Dallas and a couple of the guys that you used to play with and how they compare to all the guys you play with here in Scottsdale now.
You know, I was always a huge hockey fan growing up. When I moved down to Dallas and played at SMU, I got the chance to meet Mike Madonna. Was actually the first guy I met in the hockey world. And he introduced me to the likes of Brett Hull and Brendan Morrow. And all three of us, obviously, I mean, I learned really quickly that I have a lot in common with hockey guys. We like to play golf, and we like to have a lot of fun. So we got along very good. I always joked that the first time I met Brendan Morrow, Mike asked me to take him out to play golf because he couldn't make it. So I took him, and he didn't say a word for 4 hours. And I was like, Mike, this guy doesn't talk. Like, this really isn't that much fun. Now I can't get him to shut up. It's unbelievable. He's one of my best buddies in the world. But, man, the hockey guys, I've been so lucky to meet. From those guys to Tyler Sagan and Jamie Benn, a bunch of I get along great with all the hockey guys. Ray Whitney, I have so much fun with them, and we play so much golf and have a lot of fun out there. But I consider the hockey guys some of my best buddies in the world.
Have you played with Joe Pavelski before? You mentioned those Dallas guys.
I have not played with him, but I actually ended up at Tahoe this year caddying for Alex Killorn, and we were paired with him on Saturday, him and Steph Curry. So
right, I was
Joe,
there.
yeah, Joe is a great player, man. He's got an awesome golf swing. Really enjoyed spending some time with him.
Yeah, every year I'm like, I hope he wins it. And he's come so close. Yeah. And yes, you probably don't even remember I was there. I pull up the rear of the tournament because, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to be in the last area.
You're right there with Chucky.
Yeah, that's right. You can handle Charles.
The last 2 years, I think he's beat me. So
yeah, but wait a second, Kathryn.
Handicap down the summer, so I'm coming with my A game next year. Bet on me.
What about that putt you made on 18?
That's all that matters. All that matters is you sink the TV putts. That's it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I thought I was doomed, and I ended up putting it in. It was great. It was my highlight. So
that was the first time I'd ever been to that event, and oh my, it's the most fun golf tournament I've ever been to in my life. I was like, I got to make sure my CBS schedule works so I have that week off so I can come every year.
Yes, you do. Maybe you can caddy for me. Forget those 1, 2, 3, 4 handicappers.
How do you know Alex? How do you know Alex Killorn?
Through
How did you get to know him?
Yeah, through Brendan, because Brendan spent some time in Tampa. Him and Coach Coop, and we were down there covering the Valspar at Innisbrook, and the Lightning were in town. So Brendan hooked me up with Killer and went out there and watched him play a couple games, and then we just stayed in touch. And he was out there at Tahoe, and he's like, "Hey, would you want to stick around for the week in caddy?" Because I was doing some stuff for our podcast out there, and I was like, "I mean, it's 115 in Scottsdale. No reason for me to go home." This Tahoe thing seems pretty fun, and we had a blast, man. He played so good the first day. Was in the last group on Saturday. Was there when Steph made the hole-in-one. So it was really cool. Yeah, we had a great time. He was so nervous on the weekend. I mean, he'd never played a golf tournament before. This was his first ever one, and to be in the last group with Steph Curry and Pavs in front of all those people, it was awesome, man. I was so proud of him, and he's going to be a guy he could contend for it one year. He's got to have a hot week, but he's a really good player.
How are you as a caddy, and how is it for you to kind of not mentor a player, but calm him down when you know he's nervous and maybe that swing's not what it would normally be?
Yeah, it was fun. I just tried to stay super positive, keep him hydrated, if you know what I mean. Make sure the bag was always stocked. But like I said, for him being his first golf tournament, we had so much fun. He did a great job. And like I said, I mean, he played awesome the first day, and then I just think his body probably had never felt the way it did on Saturday, teeing it up in front of all those people, and then obviously being alongside Steph Curry.
Yeah, and I mean, that tournament to me is just so, and we've all had a chance to be there. I play in it, and it's like, you don't even realize how much golf that is when you're not used to. I mean, Colt, you played on tour. You know what it's like to play 7 straight days a week all year long. But the tournament, I mean, I remember the first year I went there, it was a practice round on Wednesday. It was a pro-am on Thursday. And then, oh, by the way, you've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the tournament. I'm like, I don't remember the last time I played 5 days, let alone 5 days in a row. So just for Alex to be there, and then you're experiencing, the events at night, and then you've got all the wonderful American Century clients that you're trying to entertain, and there's great cookouts at night and celebrity karaoke and all this stuff. And oh, by the way, you got to tee it back up again tomorrow morning at 7, 8, 9 in the morning. So I'm sure it was a learning curve for him and for you, just trying to maintain the pace as well.
Yeah, you can sleep the next week. There's a lot.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot going on, but there's nothing better. Obviously, Craig's up there every year with Charles, and Charles just runs the show up there. He's better at the nighttime activities than the daytime activities.
Well, I was just going to say, Colt, I mean, tell us about the plane ride home that we had and how long that night went.
Oh my God! I mean, Charles was nice enough to give me a ride back home to Scottsdale, and I appreciate it very much. And I thought the party was over. I mean, we'd been going for 4 or 5 straight days, and with Charles, it never stopped. So we just kept on rolling, and Monday sucked. I'll tell you that.
That's so funny. That's
you know what? You can sleep when you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. You only get one chance at this thing. Might as well enjoy it.
Exactly
That's awesome.
right.
So speaking of
exactly
enjoying
right.
it, I mean, you hired and then you jump right into the broadcast side, right? You sign on with CBS Sports in 2022. So what has that journey been like for you to be, calling the shots and being a part of the broadcast after so many years of playing the game and being on the course with guys very well, but you might have to be critical of at times?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I always hesitate to call myself an athlete, but I did play a sport for a living. So I think for us, growing up, you never have a plan B, right? It's just like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be very successful, and then I'm going to ride off into the sunset, and it's going to be a great life. Well, I dealt with some injuries, and it came to a point where I had to decide if I was going to go back down to what's now the Korn Ferry Tour, basically the minor leagues, or think about making a career switch. And being, I think, 35 at the time, and had that opportunity in front of me, like, it's hard to go backwards after being, on the PGA Tour for so long. And I was doing the Sirius XM radio show and having fun with that, and I realized I could sit in my office a few days a week and probably make more money than a great season on the Korn Ferry Tour and be a lot less stressed. And then obviously the TV thing started happening a little bit more, and I got extremely lucky to basically go from playing Phoenix Open in 2020 to doing, I think, 15 events for Golf Channel later on that year, and then that leading into a full-time thing with CBS. I'm very, very lucky. I'm so glad it happened. I joke that I think this is what I was actually meant to do. It wasn't to play golf. It was to do this. And I'm having so much fun with it. Being out there with the guys still, like, I've traveled since I was 15 years old, I guess. I mean, playing golf, whether it's amateur golf or professional golf, I've traveled nonstop. So being at home is kind of weird to me. So I still love being out there traveling, getting to go inside the ropes with the guys, and having fun with them. Watching, I told some people this year, I realized, when I played, very rarely did I get paired with the likes of Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, John Rahm, those quality guys. And now I follow them every week. And I just wonder what the hell I was doing thinking I could compete with those guys all those years, because they are so good, man. It's just unbelievable to watch those guys play day in and day out. I respect them so much. But like you said, Kathryn, I mean, you do have to criticize them sometimes. That's part of the job. But I think we're close enough friends that they understand that. I'm not being rude or anything. I'm just calling it like I see it. And
right.
I think if they mess up and I call them out, they would probably agree with me that they messed up.
You got a great demeanor. You know me, Colt. I love golf. I watch golf more than I watch hockey. I work in hockey to pay for my golf, and I think that there's some similarities. I once told Kelly Chase, the former tough guy, you probably know Chaser. Everybody knows Chaser, and I said that Wayne Van Dorp, he ruined my career. He landed on my knee and tore my ACL, and I ended up retiring. He says, "Don't kid yourself. He started your career," and kind of going on piggybacking on what you said. I mean, things happen for a reason. You've got such a great demeanor about you on the air that it's comfortable watching you, comfortable listening to you, except if you're huffing and puffing because you got to go up some hills sometimes. But I've really enjoyed that. And I've always said that because I came from the locker room and I retired at 26 and all my friends were still playing. And I felt like, okay, I can say whatever I say on the air. I have to be sure that if I go into the locker room afterwards, I can say the same thing and they would completely get it. Is that kind of your theory as well? Like whatever you can say on the air, can say to their face.
Exactly. I mean, I never want to cross that line. I mean, I'm still very good friends with a lot of people out there. And we go to dinner during tournament weeks and they're going to tell me things that they're not going to tell other people. And they're going to tell me things they don't want shared on the air. So I got to always make sure I don't cross that line because I never want to lose the trust. Once you lose the trust, it makes your job a lot harder, as you know. I mean, if these guys,
You're done.
if they trust you, they'll give you all the information that they want out there, and that's a huge asset. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons I've been successful is I get a lot of the information that a lot of other people don't in the golf world because I'm around them so much. But I never want to break that trust, and I always am sure, like if they tell me something I think's really good or maybe a little bit on the edge, I ask permission first. But yeah, you're exactly right. You got to make sure you never cross that line.
Hey, Colt, I mean, your sarcasm and quick wit is next to none. And I think you've done such a great job incorporating that into the broadcast. Have you always had that, or is it something you've picked up when you started playing golf or on the tour? When did all that come about?
I was pretty shy, like in high school and everything, I would say. And then college, it started to come out a little bit more. I've just always loved trash talking with people.
Yeah.
I think I grew up in a real small town. Like there was 89 people in my high school class, and it's like everyone knew each other, and there was just you always were messing with each other, and that's just how I've been. I think golf definitely brings that out. Being around the hockey guys brings that out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are absolutely ruthless, but it makes it fun. You know, I mean, Barkley's. I would say people ask me like, who do I look up to in the TV world? And Charles is honestly one of those guys. I hate to admit it to his face, but he really is because he's knowledgeable, but at the same time, he makes it so much fun and entertaining because it is a show. And that's like, I know when to be serious, but I want to also make it fun for people and enjoy the listen and make some jokes here and there and get people to laugh because that's kind of never been the case in golf. I mean, David Faraday and Gary McCord, other than them, there's really not been any guys that, kind of make jokes or at least make fun of themselves. And out there on CBS, myself and Frank Nobilo, like we love to take shots at each other and tease each other and just try to enjoy it because it is, like I said, it's a show.
I think it's so important to say that too, because when you think of golf, and I mean, I've been watching golf my whole life, played golf my whole life, been a part of the NBC broadcast, and there is a tone of seriousness. I mean, golf is a very classy sport. There's a level of integrity it takes to play the game, to go to a clubhouse, just to participate in the sport. It's very exclusive and can get perceived as being such. So it has this serious tone to begin with, but we're in a wave of a new generation now. And I just love the flavor you bring to the broadcast, that element of joy, the laughter, and you're coming into a broadcast that is, top notch with Jim Nantz, and you've got Dottie Pepper, and you've got Trevor Immelman. I mean, you're working, by the way, the production crew is A++. So, I mean, I'm curious when you came into that crew, what was your biggest eye-opening welcome to TV? Like maybe something you didn't even realize goes on with a golf broadcast. And because that is, CBS, NBC, the best there is at broadcasting golf.
Yeah. I think we all have had that moment where it's like, welcome, here you are. But I tell people, for me at least, and I find it talking to most people, there's no real training or anything. It's kind of, here you go. We're going to let you go and see what you got. And I was still playing at the time. I was hurt. And they asked me to do 3 Golf Channel events. This is when Lance Barrow was still the producer over at CBS. So he would do the show on Thursday, Friday. I show up to Riviera on Tuesday. I text Lance and say, hey, I'm here. He goes, cool, see you Thursday. I'm like, okay, great. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, you're in 16 Tower. I'm like, great. What do I do when I get there? Like, I have no clue. So Rick Folio was there, who was Gary McCord's right-hand man for so long, went down to 16 Tower, put the headset on, and here we go. And it happened to be one of the years where they had to restart the first round because the weather was so bad. And being on 16 Tower, number 10 is my hole. Well, number 10 is one of the most famous holes there at Riviera, the drivable par 4. So the entire first day I've ever worked, pretty much the whole show is me. And I mean, we got Tiger going off and all this, and I have just no clue what I'm doing. And I'll never forget the first time, this is when I was like, oh boy, I am in over my head. I'm talking, and Lance says commercial, and I stop talking. And he starts counting down. He says commercial. Commercial. And I'm not saying anything. And he goes, Colt, send it to commercial. I was like, oh, we'll be right back. And he goes, Colt, when I say commercial, whoever's talking last sends it to commercial. I'm like, well, I had no idea that's how this works. So that was kind of my first moment, like, oh boy, here we go. Yeah, I was just like, maybe if you would have told me that leading into the show, I would have been a little more prepared. But
you're not the only sport that they do that with, and that's the amazing part about it all. I mean, learning on the fly is no easy task, and having you had the headset on for a lot of us. We got the IFB in there, and you got your producer talking all the time, and it's no wonder that we don't listen to our our better halves half the time. We got something going on over here. We got something listening over there. And then you just do your thing. So that's a great accomplishment for you, Colt, to pull that one off like that. That's for sure. Is there a part of it? Like, do you guys have the ability to talk back to the producer on TalkBack like we do? Okay. So if you want something else, you can do the same thing we do in hockey and go back on something if there's something that you really want.
Oh yeah. I mean, he doesn't listen to me very often. That's our wonderful producer, Seller Shy. I always try to chime in, but he keeps me cut off for the most part. No, I'm just kidding. He's great.
Sounds familiar too.
Yeah. But no, there's a few times here and there I'll be like, hey, let me ask somebody something or something like that. And he'll let me chime in. But man, we have so much fun out there. And I think the broadcast continues to get better and better each week for us.
Okay. You finished you said you finished in 22?
2020
no, you didn't finish
was my last tournament.
It was Waste Management, right?
2020 at Waste Management, yeah.
Went out with a bang. So that was right before everything happened in the world. So
yeah.
Oh,
so
boy.
what was it like for you? You decided to retire, and then what did you do during those months that you were? I know you said you got into things pretty quickly with the television side and the podcasting, but those first few months of retirement, was it scary for you? Was it like, oh my gosh, I've done this my whole life. Now what?
Yeah, I think it was definitely scary. I mean, I was doing the SiriusXM show while I was hurt. That randomly came about. Myself and my partner Drew Stoltz started doing a show one day a week for an hour, and that quickly grew into multiple days. But while I was still playing, I was able to do that. So I knew I was going to have that to fall back on. But still, yeah, it's scary. I mean, golf's all I've ever thought about doing. And to go into the media world, which I had no clue what I was doing, to do that, to start the podcast and everything, which golf.com reached out. And that was kind of like, just, hey, let's see what happens. If it's good, great. If not, no big deal. And then the TV thing, it all happened really quickly. And it was honestly a smooth transition. Thank God. Because I didn't know if it was going to be, but man, it's so much fun. I have 3 jobs right now, but it doesn't feel like I work at all.
I love gravy in the sleeves. I only go between Springsteen radio and PGA Tour radio a lot of the times. I get enough hockey on my own. I don't have to listen to it all the time. So I really enjoy that, Colt, and it's great to listen to you guys banter back and forth.
Yeah, shout out to Drew. He does a great job too. So
yeah,
Colt,
sure does.
I love shit talking and I love pranking people as well, and especially when we're with Charles. But tell us one of your better pranks that you've done when you were both on the tour and maybe recently.
Oh boy.
My favorite one that I did was to Graham DeLette. Good Canadian
boy. Why would you do that to a Canadian guy?
Because it was just set up so easy, and I just had to take advantage. You know, Graham's one of my best buddies. He likes to have a lot of fun with me, as I do with him, but I'll never forget this. When we're at Hilton Head the week after the Masters, and Bryson DeChambeau was making his professional debut, and there is when you win, they give you the tartan jacket. So Bryson has his little Puma hat that he was wearing at the time, and they printed them all up in the tartan jacket thing. So the whole week was made about Bryson. Well, in the locker room, it goes ABC order, and it's DeChambeau and DeLette right next to each other. And all week, me and Graham play our practice rounds together. We go to dinner. All week, he is just complaining about Bryson. He's like, this kid has so much shit everywhere. I can't get to my locker ever. He's been out here for 5 minutes, and he's already annoying the hell out of me. I just can't stand this kid, and I'm going to be next to him the rest of my career in the locker room. I was like, dude, just start throwing his stuff or hiding it, whatever, just whatever. So all week, just complain. I finished my round on Saturday. I give my caddy my credit card, and I was like, go buy me one of those little tartan hats. I need one. So he goes and buys one. And I autograph it. I say, to Graham, best of luck in your career, and sign it Bryson DeChambeau. And put it in his locker. So I'm on the range hitting balls Saturday afternoon, and here comes Graham, and I can just see he's steaming. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good. So he comes, he's like, you're never going to believe what this kid did. And I'm like, he goes, this kid signed a freaking hat and put it in my locker, wishing me best of luck in my career. He's been out for 5 minutes. I've been out for 10 years. Like, who's this kid think he is? He's like, this pisses me off. And I was like, you should probably say something to him. He's like, I think I'm going to say something to him. So I was like, so he storms back off, comes back like 30 minutes later. He's like, I think someone's messing with me. And I just start cracking up. And he's like, you did this? And he's like, dude, I've been so mad at this kid. And he's never forgotten about it. He tries to get me back, but it's definitely not to that level. But that's one we joke about. And Bryson never found out about it until about 3 or 4 years later. And I told him in Vegas, and he loved it.
Oh, that's great.
That's
I was
perfect.
going to ask you if he found out about it. That's pretty
Yeah, that was a good one.
So you never went on Bryson's workout regimen, Colt?
No, that sounds miserable. It sounds really exhausting. I'm built for comfort.
You think there's something to that, Colt? Like the routine, like, because you see some guys on tour look like they've never run a mile in their life, and then you've got some guys that are totally jacked and their workout is very important to them. I mean, Rory is very disciplined with his working out. Is there a happy medium between the two, or what do you think?
I think it's just changed totally. And I mean, all of that's because of Tiger. I mean, listen, I'm not shy about how I'm built, but you don't see guys. I mean, other than like, there's a couple. Shane Lowry's one of the bigger guys, but for the most part, like, you don't see any guys like that out on tour anymore. I mean, these guys are real athletes. They're big, strong, and they continue to get stronger and faster. And training is a huge part of this deal. I think that's one reason why we see a lot more injuries as well. And the season is so long; there's hardly an off season anymore. But yeah, it's changed. I mean, you didn't see many guys back in the early '90s built like Gary Woodland, Dustin Johnson. Like, it's changed now, and it's only going to get bigger. Like, I was a guy that was one of the shorter guys on tour. Hit it very straight, like a lot like a Justin Leonard, a Corey Pavin kind of guy. Those people don't exist coming out of college anymore. Like, if you don't absolutely smash it, you don't try to play competitive golf at the highest level anymore. And it's
What a
kind of
shame
sad.
that is.
It is sad because I think like Corey Pavin and Justin, those guys were artists. It was awesome to watch them play, move it around the golf course and play it. Now it's just step up and swing as hard as you can, smash it and go find it. But that's fun to watch. That's what the people like to see. And if you're not hitting it 300 in the air, you're falling way behind.
Well, I'd rather not watch that, to be honest with you. I'm being serious, Cole. I love the guys that can still move the golf ball and still think the game that way. And it kind of frustrates me sometimes watching a round of golf or watching a tournament where, clearly the guy doesn't have enough club. He hits it short, and no one really goes at, like, not go at the guy, but it's a wrong club. Like, I mean, we're looking at everything all the time, but I don't know. I just think I don't know. I guess I get frustrated with it. Just almost like goaltending. Like, they don't draft anybody under 6 feet anymore. Well, maybe there's going to be somebody special out there that can really play that's under 6 feet.
That's true. And I think there's a better chance of someone being under 6 feet being a goalie than there is hitting at 265 and playing on the PGA Tour. You're just giving up so much and having to do it for 4 days. Like, I could beat Dustin Johnson on one day, but the odds of me beating him over 4, giving up 35, 40 yards off the tee, it's just really hard to do.
Boy, that's why I just got a new putting green in my backyard of my lake, because Weston Weber and Celebrity Greens came over and did an unbelievable job. So I'm going to stick with the short game, getting the ball up and down and making my putts. How's that sound, Colt?
Nice sponsor drop there.
Yeah, right?
Right.
Well, I was actually looking at it. You and Max Homa, did you win something recently? Or was that a few years ago together?
Me and Max? I don't know, probably.
Yeah.
We normally go against each other. I did get him ready for the Ryder Cup, though, recently. Myself and Joe Greiner played best ball against him and Wyndham Clark's alternate shot the day before they left for Rome. Got them all fired up. We tied them. So they were a little motivated going over there. And Max played fantastic at the Ryder Cup.
Yeah,
I was so proud of him. That was
he did.
That was awesome to see. He was one of the few bright spots on the American team.
Yeah, what do you think happened with that, Colt?
Man, it's tough to play over there. That was my first Ryder Cup overseas, and by the way, I loved it. If you have a chance to go to a Ryder Cup overseas, I highly recommend not passing on that, because their fans are incredible. They are so much fun. They're creative with their chants, but
They were super creative.
Yeah, it was hilarious, and I love.
They're lit up like Christmas trees.
Yeah, well, it's true. But for the most part, they're all respectful too, which I think is great. But there was obviously a lot going on over there. I think the culture needs to change with the Ryder Cup for the most part. I mean, I know the captains don't hit any shots, but it just seems like we have the same people every single time, and it's just not working. I mean, now it's 32 years since they've won over there. And you put that, and people criticize the captain's picks and all this. I'm like, you put that team on a piece of paper and say, hey, you got to take this team to go win. No one's going to be like, yeah, I don't really like our chances. Like, that team was stacked. And they went over there and they just didn't perform. I questioned, some of the pairings they put out with. Everything nowadays in every sport. It's all analytics, and it drives me nuts. Like
I agree with you
Me too.
100%.
I freaking hate it. Like I know those guys are smart, and I get it. Like it works a lot of the times, but sometimes it's not true. You have to just go with your gut and be like, I know these two guys play really well together. Like let's put them out there. The numbers might not say it, but I know they play well. Like myself and Dustin Johnson, when we played the Walker Cup. Buddy Marucci, our captain, in a practice session, put some teams together. We went out there and just slapped everyone around. And before we even got to Ireland, we knew like these two are going to be playing together. They gel well together. It makes no sense because we play complete opposite games, but we get along great and we kind of just feed off each other. And I thought, what I saw from Max and Wyndham before they went over there, like I thought that'd be a great team to go out. The Justin and Jordan Spieth team, I know we have it all the time, but it didn't work. Jordan was struggling. Yeah. Sometimes you got to just call an audible. When you're down 28-3 in football, you ain't running the ball every damn play.
Right.
You got to mix it up sometimes.
Yeah, I think Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt ruined that for everybody with their Moneyball movie. But, we argue about the analytics all the time across the board in all sports. Mm-hmm. You can't measure heart. You can't measure certain things or someone that you're going to play with in golf. I agree. You just can't. Yeah. Sometimes you have to let it go.
Buddy Marucci didn't do that with you.
Yeah, no, he was fantastic. I don't think analytics existed back in 2007 for the most part, but I'm not the biggest baseball guy. My friends here are diehard Dodger fans, so I'll watch the playoffs and everything. And a guy will have a shutout going through 6 1/3, and they pull him because the analytics say so. I'm like, this guy's got a shutout going. Maybe we just let him keep rolling today.
Right.
Yeah, that's for sure. Can I go back to that 07 Walker Cup? Only because I was really perusing the notes as an analyst that I am, Colt. I wanted to make sure I had all the research in front of me. But I was just mesmerized by this. That you, Bobby Jones, and Jay Siegel are the only ones to win 3 USGA events. That is amazing. Yeah. That's legitimate, right? In 1 year, that's
real. That's real stuff.
The USAM Publinks, the US Amateur, and the Walker Cup. Mm-hmm. In the USAM, did you beat Michael Thompson?
I did. Yeah. Out at Olympic Club.
Wow.
Oh, wow. At Olympic
crazy.
Club. Nice.
Yeah, that place is hard.
Where's all your medals? I want to see those USGA stuff behind you. All I see is a big window, for crying out loud. You look like a little person there.
They're around. I also got several jerseys over here. I got 3 hockey jerseys on the wall.
Who do you have?
Is one of them mine, or do I have to drop one off later?
No, you're going to have to drop one off. I got Gretz.
Perfect.
Madonna and Crosby on the wall. So
nice.
Oh, those are fairly good.
Yeah,
we're okay.
Yeah,
maybe I'll get you a Connor Bedard one. Now that I'm covering the Blackhawks.
Man, he is. I'm a huge hockey person, so I love watching him play. It is awesome, man. He is a stud, and he looks 12 years old, but it is impressive. It is so impressive what he does out there.
He's almost 12.
Yeah.
Cool. What are some of the better tracks that you played at? What's some of the tracks that you did good at, didn't do good at, and
didn't do well at Niner? Your grammar's awful.
All that too.
Okay. I know.
I didn't go to school for English. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I knew what you were saying.
Thanks, Colt.
For the most part, I played terrible at more places than I played great. But I like the old school golf courses. I loved Hilton Head, Harbortown out there, Colonial. I played well at the Players 1 year. That was probably one of the highlights of my PGA Tour career. But I love the old school places. I got to play Augusta for the first time 2 Novembers ago, which was pretty awesome. I mean, walking around that place now every year for the Masters, it's crazy. It's such a special place. I recently was over in Australia covering an event for them called the Asia Pacific Amateur and got a chance to play place called Kingston Heath in Melbourne, which quickly,
wow. I heard that's unbelievable.
Oh, unbelievable. And the tournament was at Royal Melbourne. So I didn't get to play there, but I walked around it every day. Man, there is some good golf down there. It is awesome.
Really nice.
That's an old Alistair McKenzie, isn't it?
Yeah, there. And then right there, it's all in this little pocket. You've got Royal Melbourne, across the street's Victoria Golf Club, which is also unbelievable. And then Kingston Heath's like 10 minutes down the road.
Phenomenal.
Hey, Cole, being here in Scottsdale.
Preston Trails?
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Panger.
Do you play Preston Trails a lot, Colt?
When I was back home in Dallas, we played quite a bit out there. That's heaven. You eat that lunch buffet, though, you got to be careful. You gain a lot of weight. That's where going around here.
Mo's over there, huh? He's always so kind to have us out when we're around there. What a great spot.
Hey, Cole, now that you're here in Scottsdale, there's a lot of current athletes, retired athletes, great golfers. Whose pockets are you getting into these days?
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a good one. My standard game, the only athlete in the group normally consists of Mr. Dan Marley, and that is a
Nice.
fun one. He loves the action, and he can play. He loves it. He plays 8 days a week. He is golf obsessed, but he's a lot of fun. There is plenty of good games out here in Scottsdale, and you better be on your game or you're gonna get slapped around. There's so many good players in this area. It is insane. I mean, every single person is like a 2 handicap or better, it seems like.
Yeah.
So you got to go.
You got Mulder, Loesch, all those guys. They pound the ball too.
Oh yeah, they all
And
do.
the Wizard, Ray Whitney, can play, huh? At the Rock.
Yeah.
The Wizard can play. We played the member guest earlier this year up at Gaza Ranch, and we didn't do too well, but we had a lot of we had way too much fun. But yeah, there's so many good players out here. It's awesome, and I mean, Wishbrook, as you know, it's just that place is heaven.
Well, how about you get into heaven from Pilot Point, Texas? What an incredible journey you've been on, Colt, and can't thank you enough for being here. I'm not sure if we're wrapping up, but I tell you what, just personally, it's a pleasure, and every time when I do see you, you just got such a great thing about you. There's just a positive energy. I love it, pal. Really great.
Wow.
It's fun having you on here. We could talk golf with you forever, and hockey and everything else.
Yeah.
But quickly before we let you go, where can we see you next? What's your next TBS event? What's your next? When can we catch you?
Yeah, well, so you can catch me every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on Sirius XM, channel 92 from noon to 2 Eastern on Gravy and the Sleeves. And then the podcast comes out every Tuesday. And for CBS, I actually have an off season, which is fantastic because of football. Apparently, that's a pretty big thing in this country. We do not work again until San Diego, which is the same week as the AFC NFC Championship. So I get a nice break to play some golf, hang out, and just enjoy life. I'm actually headed to Pebble Beach next week to tee it up in a fun event. So hopefully the weather's okay. But yeah, this is heaven for me. I work all summer, and then I get football season off, which is great. That's when the weather gets good around here.
It's not so bad, is it, Colt? Like you said, maybe you were destined to do this and not play golf.
I haven't missed a cut in 3 years. It's fantastic.
Perfect. Hey, and now that Charles is back in town, let's get into his pockets.
Oh, those are some big pockets.
Big pockets. That's the only thing that kept me in business during COVID was Charles. So he was my ATM for a year.
Whoa. Oh, you shouldn't let that out of the bag there, Niner. That's a bad omen right there. He's going to take you like you read about.
No, he's all tight.
He's my favorite kind of golfer because he's got big pockets and a big ego, and he doesn't want that many shots. They are the perfect pigeons. So I love teeing it up with Sir Charles.
Awesome.
Cody's our producer down there. Cody, clip that one off when we have Big Chuck on. That's going to be thrown right back over there. And
I got so many for that one. Don't worry about that. We got plenty.
My other little note for you, Colt, is, and I said this recently, I was just in Arizona where the Hawks played the Coyotes. Don't sleep on the Coyotes. They're a really good, entertaining team. So if you get a chance to go out and see them at the old Mullet Arena.
So I have been to the Mullet. It's awesome. I mean, I know it's not where they want to be full time, but I love it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And yes, they are playing really well. I believe they're like 5-4-1. So hanging in there. I play a lot of golf with Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. So two of their very good players. Keller's a little stud, man. He's good at golf too. It's really annoying.
He's got a nice putting green in his backyard too. I saw that.
He's got a nice lot of things in that backyard. It's big.
That's awesome. Well, it's so fun catching up with you. Continued success. You're awesome. Fun to have you on. Hopefully, maybe we'll get you on again at some point this season.
Anytime. Love y'all. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Colt.
Alex, you're just going to come carry my bag.
Hey, I'm available. I promise. As long as you can guarantee me a weekend in Tahoe, I'm there.
There you go. Awesome. Thanks so much, Colt.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Oh, guys, he's great. I would like to have Colt. I say this every week, but I'm like, Colt is awesome. He's so fun to talk to. He's great on the air. I love the flavor he brings to golf. But it was great to have him on. He's so fun.
You know what I'd like to be with Colt, and I have done this before. He's the kind of analyst that you sit back and you go, I'd just like to be sitting around having a beer with him while he's analyzing the game, because that's the fun demeanor, that's the personality, and that's what is necessary in television, to have guys with personality and relationships with players. And you can tell how well liked and revered he was amongst his peers on whether it be the PGA Tour, collegiately, or obviously in the as he said, in the minor leagues. Yeah, I like the way he said that. and I said, anyway, so that was a real pleasure to break that down. I would have really liked to get into, and I'm going to have to go and have a few beers with Colt and talk to him about just the shot making ability that he had too. And he admittedly said he's not exactly, the kind of shape that a lot of these guys are. He's not Rory McIlroy out there, but man, he could move a ball and think the game of golf. And that's what really impressive about Colt.
His golf game reminds me a lot of yours, Panger. Like, you guys actually play the course. You go shot to shot, you methodically, because you're not the longest hitters.
Yeah.
But you get the job done and you know what's going on. And that's how you guys were able to play. But his game's a lot like your game, for sure.
Yeah, I reached out to Brett Hull, and he's a good buddy, KT, and Hully just adores this guy. So that's really good. I think we're going to have to grab Hully at one point and get him on here.
Yeah, but I can imagine Colt and Hully like in the same foursome. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we talked about hole-in-ones and stuff. And Panger, I know I have not, Niner has not, still waiting for that day. But you have had how many holes in one?
I've had two, and I went for the longest time without one. And my wife Lynn, I've been golfing for such a long time, and I come home and I go, man, so close. I almost. She's like, yeah, tell me when tell me when it goes in. So I was playing in the amateur. I think it was the amateur pub links in St. Louis at Forest Park, and the guy in my group amazingly enough was Brett Hull, and we were having a great day, and we're all playing really, really well, and so I hit one. It's over a bunker, and it just kind of cleared the bunker, and it might have hit the little downslope. And being the shortest guy in the group, I can't see the ball go in. And Hully's like, it went in the hole. And Hully, he's a very adamant. He's a very good analyst. I mean, man, that guy. And he's like, it's in the hole. And I didn't want to get too excited, but it was in the hole. So that was my first one. And then a few years ago at the Blues for Kids golf outing at Belle Reve. I mean, great place. And KT, we played Belle Reve together, KT.
We did.
And a wonderful course, and
tag on my bag.
yeah. And hole 13 is I hit it, and I had a little bit of a draw to it, and I could tell it released nicely, but I thought maybe it went over. And playing with a longtime friend, Bobby Brown, and I was going to go to his wedding. I did go to his wedding on a Sunday, and this was like a Thursday or a Friday, and anyway, he's like, it's in the hole, and he was like, he's 6'6". So he could see it.
Wow.
And Donnie Lux, who's one of the part owners of the of the Blues, he's shorter than I am. So I swear he couldn't have seen it. Anyway, it ended up going in the hole. But the greatest thing about it, Donnie Lux owns Lux Co., which is a brand and distribution of all things bourbons, which I have an affinity for. And so it was the 13th hole. On the 14th hole, sure enough, is in all his products sitting there under the tent.
Wow.
And did we dabble into that stuff for the rest of the round? So yeah, came in there and all the
buy a round, and you got a free round.
It was unbelievable.
That's awesome. Amazing.
It was a cool feeling because I hit that well.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sure. KT, you've witnessed a nice hole-in-one. Tell us about your experience watching it.
With who?
With your mom.
No, I've never seen a hole-in-one.
I thought you were with her.
I was not with her. She was playing in a championship. My mom is an avid golfer. She's a club champion at our club. She's a senior club champion. Wow. She's on multiple tours in New Jersey, you name it. To your point about playing the course, she's one of the best at it.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a little pipsqueak, so she's not going to outdraft time, but she's par birdie every single hole. It's like really annoying to play with. But anyway, no, she's great. So she was playing in a tournament actually at Farms in New Jersey, and it was a rainy, awful day. I mean, horrendous. You see the picture of her. She's got her baseball cap on. She's got her rain gear on. Like, of every perfect day you've ever played, you never think like that's the day that it's going to go in the hole. But yeah, she had a hole in one. It was really exciting. She texted us. Actually, she was playing with all of our good friends, Darren and Dennis Blake, and their Blake Sports Company. So they had labeled balls that they had given to my mom years ago.
That's awesome.
They continue to give her, sleeves of balls for her rounds. And so I sent them the picture. I'm like, look, it must be the balls, she got a hole.
That's great.
A lot of good connections. No, we were so excited. I mean, she plays all the time, but that's the point. It's like some people have 15 holes in one. Some people go a whole lifetime playing so many rounds and they never have one. I've come close. And you know what's so funny when you think like you hit it close and you're like, it could be, maybe it is. maybe, and like you actually start to convince yourself, I think I might have just gotten a hole in one. And then you get up there, you're like, oh yeah,
It's
no, it's like
amazing.
20 feet away. It's I hope one day I get it, or at least I can see it with somebody.
You will.
It's so fun to play with someone that has a hole in one.
Yeah,
So,
you will. I tell you, I got most enjoyment out of the people that I was with, actually, because
I bet.
Bobby Brown had never seen one, and Donnie hadn't, and his son Phil hadn't seen one, and
Well-
they were literally emotional watching it go in the hole and
Wow.
seeing it, and then videotaping it. And I want to
How
ask
about
you,
in
KT,
Tahoe this year?
in
Like
Tahoe,
Steph Curry with his hole in one. Joe
Yeah.
Pavelski was playing with him. Matt Fortitero was Joe's caddy. We love Matt, one of our buddies, and like they're all flying down the fairway. I could hear it. I knew someone had a hole in one. I was probably 10 holes away on a different hole, but
The roar on the course was unbelievable.
ridiculous. And Steph was just like untouchable. That
You
whole
knew
week.
it happened. You didn't know who, but you knew.
And stuff, but and then he races and runs down the course like right up the middle of the gut of the fairway and onto the green, and people are going bananas. And oh my god, it's just
when I saw that, KT, I just didn't want him to rip an ankle like Tony Finau did at the par 3 at Augusta. I was like, oh my goodness, be careful, be careful. He's my favorite basketball player to watch. Be careful. But remember a couple of years ago, Joe Sakic, when he played at Tahoe on 17, he drained
That's
it. Right?
Yep.
I mean, and that was for $1 million balloons, wasn't it?
$1 million balloons, 500 to charity, 500 to Joe.
Attaboy, Joe. Man, oh
Unreal.
man. That is
And
such
again,
an exciting
we were on
thing.
the other side of the course at that point in time, and the roar is unbelievable at Tahoe. It's great.
Can I ask you, Kathryn, this is a broadcast term, so don't get excited, at venerable Somerset Hills in Jersey that your mother had that hole on?
Is that where my mom had a hole? She was at Hamilton Farms, which is
it's right there,
very
isn't it?
beautiful, right down the street from Somerset Hills. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. She just, I know. Only the finest courses for mom.
we could have this debate. And maybe we need somebody from Golf Digest or somebody else that state by state. I mean, the truly greatest golf courses state by state. Oh my goodness.
I will tell you
hard
this,
to beat that area.
I have this debate a lot with people because growing up in the New Jersey area, I mean, growing up on some of the greatest courses ever in the tri-state area, we're loaded with unbelievable courses. The thing is that, we can't play them all year long. So it's, it's a long winter, and a lot of people do go south to South Carolina and Georgia and Florida.
Sure.
But, when you read those magazines and every time you get the rankings, and Golf Digest ranks all the best courses in the country, I mean, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, loaded. I mean, where do you start, right? And the best is, I think the beauty of the courses up north in the Northeast are spectacular. We have huge trees, and we have, a lot of blind shots because of that, and forests, and you're playing in different terrains. And I just think, yes, I'm always trying to tell people we have arguably the best courses in the country,
and the greatest, but the legendary golf course designers too. I mean, that's, whether it be Tillinghast or Donald Ross or C.B. McDonald or Seth Rayner, or like, it goes on and on. I mean, it's just, it's an amazing compliment to architecture way back in the early 1900s and how it's withstood the test of time. And I recently played with Joe Micheletti at Sleepy Hollow, and I'm like, are you kidding me? What a golf course that is! I mean, there's just so many.
Awesome.
We need somebody to do some rankings here for us.
We'll do it.
We need an athlete
We'll
from every state. That's what we need. An athlete from every state, and we can break it down. Okay.
And one last thing regarding hole-in-ones, just our last guest, Cole Hamels.
Yeah, that's right.
He had his hole-in-one out here, so
you were with
crazy.
him.
And like you said, Panger, when you got the hole-in-one, you were happier for the people with you. Look how happy all his teammates were for him when he got the hole-in-one. And I've been privileged enough to witness 3, but that was pretty special.
Yeah, well, then he hits a home run the next night at Wrigley.
No, seriously.
I mean,
no, it was in spring training.
Oh,
it was
in
spring training here in Arizona, because we played Silverleaf, and then it was their last spring training game before they went back to Chicago.
Okay, don't let the facts get in the way of my good story, pal. It sounded a lot better than I said. Like he flew right to Wrigley.
It was Wrigley.
Don't worry. I'm not fact checking you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something that's a hot topic right now, because I know, Niner, you're very interested in watching this, but something that has been percolating on Twitter and all across social media is officiating. And I mean, what else is new, right? Like if it's a new season, it's hockey, it's football, it's whatever. Everybody's complaining about the refs or the umpires. What is it specifically that's catching your attention right now with the officiating?
Well, usually we like to do some sort of gambling segment and talk about odds and races, Heisman races, etc. But, when I'm watching sports every night and I'm on my degenerate text threads with a couple of my Fredonia State hockey buddies and a couple other former players, but the officiating has come into play a lot. And not just from, the team that you're rooting for or who you're betting against or with, but the rage is these officials are basically dictating the outcome of the games lately. And that is having a big effect on Vegas because when these point spreads are so tight and usually they, are covering by a half a point or a point one side or the other, the rage right now on the officiating is like, Penger, I mean, you see it in every game, whether it should be a penalty or power play. This team's got 5 power plays. This team has 0. But right now, to me, from a gambling perspective, it's taken way too much out of people's pockets. In Vegas, it seems like Vegas has a hotline to every ref, and they know what's going to dictate. And for example, people are saying, okay, the refs are, so pro Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, the refs being caught hugging a Philadelphia Eagle last week, multiple holding calls against Micah Parsons in Dallas that were not called. So it's like, are they taking sides? Are they wanting one team to win more and cover the spread? Or, do the refs know the spreads? It's crazy right now of how they're dictating the outcome of whether you're going to win a bet or lose a bet. So that's my take on how we're dissecting what's going on right now in the officiating.
Oh, is it overpopulated though because of the commonness of gambling, that it's at our fingertips now that maybe it wasn't a little bit ago?
It's definitely have effect. Yes.
This argument's gone on for 100 years in every single sport, and so I just wonder if the emotions of the fan isn't based on whether or not so and so wins, or it's based on the almighty dollar that they might be putting their last few fishnagels on there, and now they're under duress. Now they're stressed out. So that's something that we've got to be careful about as well. Well, that's just the facts of the matter. It's gambling. You put money on the line. Now you're upset with the officiating. Now you're, because an official hugs somebody. I mean, I don't know. I've heard people say that to me, because I know somebody on a team, and after a game, I've gone over there and then gave him a hug. Well, it's because I know the guy. Like it's I haven't seen the guy in a while, and I hugged him. I'm not picking sides or anything like that. And I will say this I'm only going to go through this on the NHL side because I'm between the benches for, I would probably say 80% of the games, maybe even more. And all I can say is that in the game of hockey, I think we go through a very soft preseason. We go through the early part of the season. And last year I noticed it more than ever. And then, a lot of penalties being called. Yes, there's a lot of penalties that when I look around the ice and there's 5 guys, 7 guys, 8 guys, the coach on one side, a coach on the other side, myself, our producer, and we're like, what's the call? When you have that many people, you're like, what's the call? Yeah. Generally speaking, the referee goes after the period and looks at it and goes, oh my, what a, Ben, that's not a very good call, and that happens. And we're trying to sell it like, hey, we see it at fast speed. We see it at slow motion. We see it at super slow motion. We get to see it 4 times and they get to see it once. But what confuses me, and I'll just say this, I thought last year to begin the playoffs, we went from 1 to 5,000 in intensity to start the playoffs in a 7-game series. And it was almost like we're all surprised that they hate each other. They're trying to win the Stanley Cup. And we didn't have the same kind of maybe intensity in officiating or letting the players battle so hard down the stretch so that when you jumped into the playoffs, it was seamless. I felt like last year was the first time I really thought that, boy, it's not up to speed with how the 7-game series is going to go. So that's what I would say about the hockey stuff. The other stuff, I don't know. You can find a penalty or non-penalty in every single sequence in every single sport.
Exactly.
So there's 2 points I want to make here. I'm watching a hockey game last week. There were 17 power plays. 17. You can't tell me there were 17 penalties in that game and not 18 or 19 at that point. And it seems to me early on in the hockey season, the refs are way more prone to make more calls.
For sure. And that's what I'm saying is that they're trying to.
And you just hinted on that. But you're turning this sport into special teams. It's not what it is. And then all of a sudden at the playoffs,
Yeah.
Now we're back to 5-on-5.
Yeah.
You know, it's just crazy how it works. But
I prefer 5-on-5 hockey myself. I mean,
Of
I
course.
think that's where you look at the good teams and their 5-on-5 goals, 4 goals against differential. The percentage of a 60-minute game in the offensive zone, and how many times they can get one shift and another shift going. Yeah, but
it's
that's
turned into a special teams game for the first 30 games of the season, in my opinion.
Then if you're an offensive player, you better get your candy early in the season because it's not going to come later on as much.
So here's the second part of the officiating that I want to talk about.
I think this is
After
really
every
bothering
game-
him, KT.
Listen, when you're sitting on the couch watching as much sports as I am and flipping through the channels and the text threads are going,
maybe you should get on the Peloton while you're watching.
An officiating therapist. You need.
hey, you know what? We've got a couple of officials that are our friends. Maybe we should have them on. But here's a point that's come up with a bunch of my friends. Coaches are obligated to do press conferences after the games. Players are obligated. When will we ever be able to have officials be held accountable?
Do you want to appreciate if you had to go and meet the media after every game? I wouldn't.
But I mean, you can go back 3-4 years. Remember the playoff game with New Orleans and that play that basically cost them moving on? I think it was against Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know the official. Why did you call that pass interference, or why didn't you call it? You know, the game's on the line. It's to go to the NFC Championship game. So, at what point do you have to have them accountable? How do you have them accountable?
I will say this. I think that there are probably moments of an egregious call that I think it behoove the commissioners or the league itself to bring the referee for one statement. You know, you're not going to sit the referee in front of the media for 20 minutes and break down every single call. But you know what? There was a call. I'm going to step up here. I'm going to tell you exactly what it was. It happens on the ice an awful lot where a referee knows he doesn't make the right call. And the best thing that I see referees do is go right to the bench and diffuse the situation. The minute that they don't go to the bench is the minute that the coach is losing his mind, the players are losing their mind, and that to me would be the one advice I would give is that if it's such an egregious call, then they can be accountable. They look good doing it. Hey, I missed that call. I saw something here, and it wasn't the stick. It was this. He got caught in a rut. It's my fault. And, I think that's maybe the best way of doing it. I think we all, when we make mistakes, to have the ability to come out and say, that's on me, is way better than hiding from it, in my opinion.
And that's well said, Panger. And those refs that do that, kudos to them. Yep. But the ones that don't, and they know that they missed a call, what's worse? The makeup call that's coming. And you know it's coming too. Every single NHL game, as soon as a team gets 2 or 3 power plays, guess who's getting the next one? You know it's coming. And I just, from a gambling perspective and looking at it from that way on your couch, it's different.
Fair. We'll get one of our referee umpire friends on here. We can chat about it with them.
I'll bring on Mr. Brian Pakmara, one of my good buddies from back home that I grew up with. So we'll get him on. NHL ref. Yes, he is.
It's fun being with you. Another episode of Back to You. Looking forward to hearing everyone's response to Colt and getting excited for our next guest next time as well. So fun to be with you guys.
Yeah, can't wait. Enjoy planes, trains, and automobiles. Where will we be next?
Exactly.
Where in the world is Waldo? KT, Panger, great job. Safe travels to everybody.
You too, guys.
Okay.
See you soon.